Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to the Inn of the Dancing Rancor. I'm Matt. We are here with Mike and Sebastian as always, and it is a couple days after the 40th birthday of Return of the Jedi. Boys, how's it going?
Happy birthday,
Return of the Jedi. Arguably the best one of the 9.
Okay.
What are you knowing me for? What are you knowing me for?
No.
Because it's
No.
not. Whatever.
I know you like Empire. I know you like Revenge of the Sith.
I like Empire's
best,
better.
but
Empire. No, the originals. Shut up with episode 3 already.
you're the
Join us
chosen
in the
one,
future for a
Anakin.
live show where we actually come to blows.
I'm reaching through my camera. I'm going to get you, boy.
We should sit on the far end of the of a table if we ever do a live show.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, hell no. I'm putting a referee shirt on. We're going to have a go, boys. It's going to be a
we're gonna-
Donnybrook.
We're going to blaze through this tonight because we got to get Matt on to Night of Champions. I should say
don't.
Morning of Champions because it's from Saudi Arabia at 10 a.m. I guess.
He's
That's
shaking
weird.
his head vigorously. No.
Hey, how do you feel about those early pay-per-view starts? They've done it for UFC a bunch of times.
It doesn't bother me. I mean, it's slightly more convenient, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
Here's the really weird thing Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
I will say I do have it playing on mute next to me on the office TV, but I'm not that excited for this show. I mean, I think the new belt is it's
Don't
ugly.
even.
It's
Don't
ugly.
even.
It's ugly.
There's
as fuck.
nothing worse. There is nothing worse than the two belts they have now. Those are the worst
Absolutely not. And yes, there
belts.
is the spinner
they've
title.
ever-
Spinner title.
At least it was
Spinner title.
Yeah, but that makes sense for
Spinner
John.
title.
That makes sense for John Cena.
No.
How did you even see the
sure.
belt though?
You
can't see him.
Jesus.
You can't see the belt.
Yeah, for Cena, absolutely. For everybody else that had to carry it for years, no, it looks stupid. The new belt is just so Mike knows, it's the old WCW big gold belt.
Oh, I like that.
It is. But
Thank you, Mike.
They slapped a fucking WWE logo dead center of it. It looks
way
terrible.
better than
it
the
is
two
hot
others.
garbage.
That's the one that like Goldberg and shit had back in the day, right? Yeah.
And-
that's
except now
It's
for
smaller. It's like a hybrid
Yes, it
of
is.
the NW or the NWA like old belt and like a WWF belt basically.
Oh, okay.
They kind of amalgamated like those two.
It's about the size of when they used the world title in WWE, which was the big gold. It wasn't the actual big gold. It was a smaller version they used for years.
Do you have a picture handy so I can see it? I'm too lazy to look at it.
I can find you a picture, absolutely.
You know,
but I'm not fucking. You know what? If you want to hear me rant on wrestling, tune in tomorrow.
Yeah,
there's other
to
podcasts.
Cheap Seat Booking. I have 4 guests that are going to sit down. We're going to be discussing the results of this pay-per-view, our feelings on this belt, and get into some Double or Nothing from AEW, which is tomorrow night, and that's the one I'm looking forward to.
Everybody knows that I have this innate ability to trigger Matt all the time.
Well, I think you're just you're good at it with everybody.
That's true. Yeah. So getting back to these early start times, UFC for a while kept to a 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time start time, regardless of where the UFC was.
Yep.
So they did a couple from London, and like the pre-show started at like 4 a.m.
Oh my
Could you
God.
imagine fighting at 4 a.m.? Well, I mean, after the bar maybe, but like not first thing in the morning.
After the bar, yeah. That's crazy. And why would you even want to go?
Because they wanted to do a North American audience. That's the new belt.
That is fucking horrible.
I like it, man. I think it's way better than...
I changed my mind. It's stupid.
You're stupid.
I am stupid, but that's not we're not talking about my intelligence. We're talking about this ugly ass belt.
It's 680. Okay, look at the new... No. All right, anyways. As you're managing all of our pages here.
That was from WWEshot.com. If you have $680 American, you want to flush down the toilet on something horribly ugly, there are also hookers in Reno, so maybe that's a better choice.
Really quick. It doesn't. The logo in the middle. It doesn't need to be there. We all know what it is. Why do you got to plaster that there to make it the biggest thing?
Yeah, but anything is better than the current 2 belts that they have. That Roman Reigns has. Those are so bad. They're so bad.
No, they just need to get rid of. They need to get rid of the red and blue tag titles and just make it a black strap, and they need to get rid of 2 belts for Roman and just make it the black strap, and they need to get rid of the 2 belts for the women and make it a black strap, and change the logo.
Look at us fighting about fashion.
I know, right?
Thanks.
Can we take a shot for every time Matt says black strap?
Again,
You troll. Seb's a troll.
Going from one goat of wrestling.
Get in there quick enough and say "on" every time I say it, and that'll be entertaining. But it's not about wrestling. Tune in tomorrow on Facebook and YouTube to Cheap Seat Booking, and you can hear me, a couple buddies from around the globe. We have one from Chilliwack. We have a guest from Chicago. We have one from Washington and one from Philadelphia. We'll be discussing all things wrestling for a little while.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be good. I'm trying to get a little more regular with that. And we're working on some big things here at the Inn Studios. We're branching out. You're going to hear more of us out there on various projects. There is another one. Do you guys want to talk about that, or do you want to put a little more work into it?
Yeah, so Mike and I are starting an all music podcast where we deep dive specific songs and topics of songs, where we really open up the song and like go in depth on how it was created, the lyrical content, why it's a good song, why it's not a good song, you know, what the band was thinking. Name of the podcast will be Mandatory Music Monday, and it's coming soon. So yeah, we're really excited. The goal of it is to just give you a short little podcast, you know, a quick little, you know, 1 or 2 songs a week, just to really highlight specific things. So if you're really interested in music and, you know, how music is created and what goes into a song, please tune in the near future to our podcast. So yeah,
and I'm sure we'll argue. That's just the way it's going to be.
We will absolutely argue.
I'm looking forward to that.
It would not be a dynamic.
It wouldn't be one conversation with the 2 of us if we didn't argue about something.
Yeah, and
hey,
you know, this is not a this is not a 3-person thing. So, you know, aside from maybe guesting once in a while, this is all you 2, right? And again, if you guys want to come on and BS wrestling with me sometimes, you let me know.
If you ever do it on anytime. If you ever do it on a day that I'm not working, I will come in. But quickly to highlight the argument side, all 3 of us are passionate about music and about, you know, well, maybe not about wrestling for Mike, but like about various things that we're interested in.
Our nerddoms.
The nerdsdom, right? Yeah. So we defend our passion to the core, which makes exciting content, I think. So, but we never feel hatred or bad intentions to each other. We just like to take the shit to each other.
You guys are my brothers.
Shit? Is that the right?
We're brothers, basically. So that's
take the piss. I think that's the
that's what they say over there in England. Yeah, and you know, and a few other places around the world.
Yeah.
Anyways, boys, so we got some upcoming things. Cheap Seat Booking tomorrow, Mandatory Music Monday. Be on the lookout for that. We will be making some announcements. There will be another show page coming for that. There will be an announcement on the At the Inn page as to when and where you can get that. As soon as Mike and Seb have the details worked out.
Yep.
Okay, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
A seminal movie from our childhood. The second movie I ever saw in theaters is just turned 40. Yeah, which means I was 5 years old when my dad took me and another, you know, summertime buddy from hanging out in my grandma's neighborhood to see Return of the Jedi.
I'm going to say 5 years old is pretty young to go see Return of the Jedi. Like, that might be a little too young.
It was the 80s, bro.
Yeah, there was no such thing as like what you should and shouldn't go see. No. Like, none of that stuff has been filtered out yet in terms of ratings or just it was just a movie you just went to see.
Well, I mean, the ratings were there, but it was very much, well, you got a parent with you, so okay.
It's fine. It's fine.
And the ratings were different. Like PG back then is like rated R now, right? Like it's the way society is. I don't want to get deep into this.
Yeah, I mean, the 80s were deep into the fuck around stage. I mean, we didn't find out until like the late 90s, really, when politically correct became a societal thing, and now that's snowballed into cancel culture and what you can and cannot say anywhere. And you know what? To be fair, there's a lot of things you cannot say that you shouldn't say, period. I mean, there's some isms involved there, and there's some hate involved there, and I'm thinking those 3 big words. However, none of those words are in the movie. No. So I knew the story already. I wasn't going back and going, what was this lightsaber thing? I knew the story, so I know I had seen both Star Wars and Empire before this. This movie blew my mind. I remember laughing hysterically at Wicket on the speeder bike.
Mm-hmm.
How do you not love the Ewoks?
Got me.
They're just they're
cute teddy bears.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing by introducing them in the story, though, right? Like, it's a marketing thing.
Oh yeah, no,
Marketing, and
100%.
it's opening to another generation of kids, right? It's you're turning your age level from teenagers. You're bringing
literal walking teddy bears.
Right?
Yeah.
Which this movie is like way more fun than like, especially Empire was so dark and Vader was so brooding, and in this one Vader's kind of like, okay, well, I got to go down over there and get Luke, and then we're gonna talk for a while.
Yeah, I think you're right. It definitely flows
like a tone shift, right?
It flows through different moods of the movie, right? Like, you have the revenge plot at the beginning or the heist, I guess, the heist at Jabba's hut, and then you go into like cute little where C-3PO is hailed as a god by the Ewoks. That's like a little fun, and then you get into like the really darkness of the trying to save your father at the end, and the Emperor just.
You already have, son.
I will say though, the what's the guy's name that plays the Emperor Palpatine? What's his actor? Yeah, so he was like 40, I think, when he did.
He was young, yeah, absolutely.
To be able to play at that age, you know, a old crippled Sith Emperor, he has some acting chops to be able to do that.
He's amazing. Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I and the makeup was really good. Like this, remember, this was the early 80s.
Yep.
Right? Absolutely. Like 82, 83, or what was it?
83.
83.
So 83, so the makeup, you got to figure they were to release in May of 83. You got to figure they were filming throughout 82, if not into late 81 as well, with all the special effects. And back then, it's going to take time, especially when you're dealing with heavy makeup like the Emperor. A lot of the stuff in Jabba's palace, we see a lot of weird aliens there. That's 6 and 8 hours and 10 or more hours in makeup for some of these guys. And some of it, you know, to be fair, are just suits. I mean, and that's great. But this is all practical effects. We were not digitizing anybody in there and having some dude in a blue bodysuit stand in.
Yeah,
right?
Tennis balls all over.
Who's the alien that's with Lando at the end in the Millennium Falcon?
Yeah, no.
Oh my god, he's freaking hilarious.
He's the best.
The way he speaks is just hilarious, man. Yeah. I will tell you this about the Star Wars universe. Their choices in different languages just makes me laugh every time.
Oh yeah. So good.
Even the singer in Jabba's palace with like the long snout with the red lips.
Yeah, and you know that they pulled the Cantina band into that, right? Like that was a favorite, so they brought the Cantina band back. And let's give props to where it goes. Like this is the Jim Henson Creature Shop that was involved in all that.
Oh hell yeah,
too, right?
He definitely came to play for this movie, man. There's so many interesting cats and characters and.
Well, yeah, I mean you get a general sort of sense when you're dealing with a lot of the Rebel Alliance scenes, like Nub's in there, and you got a few here or there. But Jabba's palace, much like the Cantina in Star Wars, is just a mixed bag of alien
outrageousness.
Basically,
it is just mind blowing, right? And that was one of the things I think that was a big hit in Star Wars. You didn't see it too much in Empire, but it's something they brought back. It's like let's put a scene of just chaotic, creatures, aliens in one spot again, and let's break out the band. So Jabba brought the band over. That's cool.
Can we just talk about a second how unrealistic it would be for Leia to strangle Jabba the Hutt?
That'd be some thick skin, that man.
Look at the size of his neck, man. You're telling me?
He's a force user.
Oh my!
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, she's a force user, man.
Well, you know what?
Yeah, but that was never mentioned in the scenario there.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be something she did consciously either, right?
Yeah,
and maybe that's true. The big worm's weak part is his neck. and she knew that maybe,
and you know that you don't necessarily need to be bigger than somebody to choke them out. I mean, you just mentioned UFC stuff earlier, so sometimes all you need to do is get a good grip and hang on long enough, right?
It's a little far-fetched, man. But I mean, I understand why that was the case, because you know, that's her personal battle with Jabba the Hutt, so she has to overcome it. You can't have someone come in and shoot or kill Jabba the Hutt, because it kind of devalues her as a heroine in the story, so to speak, right?
Let me just get something straight here. Leia choking out the giant slug is a little far-fetched. Have you seen the rest of these movies?
Yeah, well, I know.
Like,
the fact that
number 2, how long does that take to build? More than a couple of years.
Fact that they can build an operational Death Star in like 4 years.
Right. They doubled their effort.
Well,
they had a couple on the go is how they retcon that. But let's really take a look. We have space wizards with laser swords.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh, so here's
careful
an
of using
question.
Far-fetched.
Yeah, right.
Do you know why they went with a green lightsaber for Luke Skywalker? Because he traditionally had a blue one, but in return it was a green one. Yeah, because
blue didn't show up against the sky.
That's exactly the right reason. It was better contrast against the red, and the sky.
That makes total sense. Yeah.
But then they retconned it into like, well, he's now
there's
different type of Force user, so he uses a different kyber crystal.
You got to expand the universe.
Yeah, the lightsaber colors now depend on personality. Side note: do you know why there's red ones?
Because they're synthetic crystals.
Nope.
That's for the Sith ones.
They're not synthetic. No.
Literally says it's synthetic because they bleed like they.
I'm telling you from the canon that I have read, and I have boxes of it right here.
Big old canon.
It's because the Sith make their lightsaber, their kyber crystals bleed.
Well, yeah, that's true as well, but they also use synthetic crystals too.
No, right? They can, but they don't. Not all the time. It's the same sort of deal where you got to go find a kyber crystal, and then through the hate and raw anger from being a Sith, you make the kyber crystal bleed.
Yeah,
and it turns red.
That makes sense.
So that is a very retconned bit. That is very, very new since Disney bought up the thing and sort of wiped everything out and said, no, we're going to redo it. We're just going to pick apart what we want. We're going to basically, they Marvel movied Star Wars canon. They took source material and then are slowly reintroducing canon. So that I thought that was a really cool. It's like, it's just all the hate and power and everything.
And it makes
emotionally damaged this lightsaber to the point where it just bleeds.
It makes perfect sense and it's really cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that really is the key, right? It's there was a Kevin Nash, former world champion in WWE and WCW, was asked why he did something. He goes, because it was fucking cool. Yeah. And you're now talking about it 30 years later, so clearly it was fucking cool. Like,
so
sometimes it's all you need.
Yep.
I actually believe that Darth Vader's crystal was a synthetic crystal.
Because he's synthetic.
Right, so a synthetic lightsaber crystal, commonly referred to as a synth crystal, was a type of lightsaber crystal that was artificially created rather than naturally formed. Due to the methods used in their creation, they were often formed with a red coloration, though they could be made with any color through special manipulations. And then it shows a picture of Darth Vader's lightsaber with a synth crystal in it. So, I mean, I think that was originally what they did, but making it bleed is a way better retcon idea.
It's a much better retcon because, Mike mentioned it before. Go to YouTube and find that Darth Vader Volume 2 series, awesome. And that him getting a new lightsaber is a 3 or 4 issue arc,
something like that. It's really cool.
And it really gets into the details of it. So that's pretty cool. I have found something that I would like to play for you guys.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let me actually. I'm going to. It's not going to do like I want it because I stopped something. Hold on. talk among yourselves for a second while I fix this.
Where does this rank Return of the Jedi for you? It's probably number 2, right?
As a kid, as a 10-year-old, it was 1. It was my favorite movie. Because like all the things we said, the Ewoks, the cool lightsaber fight, the space. Oh, here we go. Matt's bringing up the stuff.
Yeah, I got it. We're good.
Okay, go for it, Matt. Or do we just keep talking? We'll play.
Nope.
There you go.
We're good. What's going on? Do we have sound?
We should.
There is no sound.
There is no sound. Okay, well, it's the Star Wars trailer. I don't know why the sound's not working today. But here we see, you know what, and it's probably good for us because that way we're not going to get pulled off of Apple. So they're starting it off hot. We got the droids are out there. We're seeing Han dragged into the whole deal. Little Emperor, they spoiler, they got another Death Star. And
can we just talk about Leia's outfit at the beginning of the movie?
Yeah, let's do that. I mean, this is clearly for a re-release because the effects are greatly up. And the old Han Solo shrug, what are you going to do? Right?
Yeah.
So just seeing this whole trailer back again is... And the ingenuity of the Ewoks too, right?
It is interesting though, like when you watch Return of the Jedi enough times and like the whole concept of the Jedi and the dark side and the light side, it's very interesting to see Mark Hamill, like Luke Skywalker, like phase in and out of the dark sides of the Force, especially in the because he does give in to hatred and anger. Like he definitely uses the Force to grab the lightsaber and literally tries to kill the Emperor, right?
And
instead he's not.
Exactly what the Emperor told him to do. He did it. And
it's so fascinating how it's really well done, actually. And then I'm not going to kill you, but then he is, and then he's not.
Yeah, right. And then on the Jedi,
he's definitely conflicted with that. So let's go back to the beginning here. Jabba's palace. How did you guys feel about the chaos that ensues? Like, it's dark. Luke comes in. He is, they sends in the droids. We see a bunch of people. I thought Lando was pretty easy to pick out.
It was pretty obvious.
That was like
this with a helmet. Hey, look, hi, I'm Lando.
It was literally a Clark Kent disguise.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that's all fine and good. I remember being shocked that it was Princess Leia.
Yes.
As Boushh.
Someone who loves you. Yeah.
Even when the other bounty hunter gives her a nod, like of respect. So it's like, they know each other. That's initially what I thought. Is like they know each other.
Yeah, because that was Lando that did it. Was it not?
No, that was Boba. Boba gave
Boba
her
Fett. Boba Fett gave her the nod. Yeah.
And there's a comic book out there where it does explain how she got the suit. But then so Leia brings in Chewie, very reminiscent of the original Star Wars, to getting in to rescue her.
You're right.
Right, little callback there. And then Luke shows up, and it's a BMF walk. There's a bad motherfucker coming down the aisle. Luke has clearly gone through some stuff.
Yep.
Right. So, and I think that's
so
a big
the plan. The plan was always to get captured, though. I think.
Who? Luke?
All of them.
Yes.
Because R2 had the lightsaber inside of him, so he got the lightsaber in because he didn't have it with him when he walked into Jabba's palace.
No, he just had a blaster. He didn't have a blaster. He just had nothing. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he just walked in with the Force.
He had the wavy hands.
Right.
Yeah, and I think again, much like my concern with Empire, where they don't really tell you, they do a really bad job about, this is not all taking place in 6 hours. The timeline between the end of Empire and beginning of Jedi, you're just sort of led to believe it's like, well, Luke is leveled up. Or wait, has he? Has he leveled up? Did they just
he's now right away? He's now a Jedi Knight, right? Yeah. So he's completed his training.
So he's clearly been off doing stuff.
But Yoda tells him he's a Jedi Knight. Your training is complete. Well, your training will be complete when you face Vader.
When you defeat Darth Vader.
That's the only thing left for you to do is to defeat Darth Vader, and then you'll be a Jedi Knight.
Honestly, seems like the Jedi version of I'm going to go get ordained so I can marry my friends.
Okay.
It's like $40 in an online course, right? Mom, if you're listening, I know it's would never do that. So the time passage is something that's a weak link there. A lot of people, well, they just went and got them. So how come everything's like no? They just don't tell you how long it's actually been.
Do we know how long it was actually the time passed between Empire and Return? I don't know the answer to that.
Currently, like 35 issues of the comic book. That's all I can tell you right now. Yeah.
So
yeah, there's some adventures. As I said, I think at the beginning of the month, there's a whole series on the bounty hunters playing hot potato with ham as they're all trying to get the bounty, including Vader being in there trying to, mess with that as well for different reasons.
Apparently the time between is 1 year.
Okay.
Really?
After Empire, it's 4 years total for the trilogy. So Lucas 19 and Star Wars, and then 23 when Jedi ended. Makes sense.
Okay.
Right?
So
I feel like it should have been longer, hey?
It definitely feels like he dropped $40 and did an internet course and got his Jedi certification.
So they built an entire Death Star in 4 years.
Not necessarily. That you don't know when they started that.
That's true.
Yeah, they could have started the two at the same time, but
yeah.
But the way Star Wars is now, with all the stuff they have in like the Mandalorian and the way the Empire works, like with even in Andor, there's so much onus on not having enough, metals and stuff to build what they have. So how the hell are you going to build 2 Death Stars at the same time without conscripting the whole galaxy to build them for you, which they didn't do. But yeah,
droids.
Yes,
droids don't need a break.
But then he turned them all off when the war ended in Episode 3. All the droids were just fuck, we don't need them anymore, because they could have repurposed battle droids really to build stuff.
They could have.
They could have.
I mean, that has popped up here and there as well.
And even clones, you could have used clones, but they decided not to really use them either, because they just okay, you guys can just go over with the droids.
Yeah,
fuck off.
A small nitpicky thing though, but
it is. Oh, it is big time.
Droids.
Yeah, right.
Just send out the construction droids. Let them do their thing.
The Constructicons.
Exactly. Oh, you know what? Let's mash that up, shall we?
Now we're talking.
This goes back to one of my favorite arguments. Back in the movie Clerks, Kevin Smith, there was a big argument over the Rebel Alliance being terrorists because they killed a bunch of contractors. And there's a contractor overhearing this in the quick stop going, hey, as a rule, as a contractor, we know when to turn down jobs. I turned down this one job. My buddy did it, and he did it for a mob guy, and that guy got whacked, and my buddy got whacked because he happened to be doing the roof that day.
Oh,
so there's a lot of speculation that there's a lot of innocent construction workers and possibly slaves that were on the Death Star when it got blowed up.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, but it's kind of hard to say no to the Sith Lord.
Yeah, right.
You're kind of like, well, I have to do this because if I say no, I'm dead anyways.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, so there's that little moral quandary there, and I recommend if you haven't seen that, look that bit up on YouTube because it's a fairly funny scene, and it raises a good point. I always like I said, I always chalked it up to they just had construction droids out there because I mean, how many dudes do you need in spacesuits? Droid.
They couldn't work on the outside frame of it because they'd be in outer space. I mean, they'd have spacesuits on, but it's just easier to send a droid out there because they can just float tethered to the edge and just work tirelessly without the having the need to breathe or anything. So
and if they had really consulted Marvel on it, they're just going, we built it with nanites.
Yeah, right.
I don't think they knew what that was.
Right. No, not back then.
Nanites, yeah.
So we go from Jabba's palace, the rescue, the absolute chaos of the rescue, right? Like they're outside. Han has no idea what's going on. It went from a big dark blur to a big light blur.
Yeah.
Like, thanks, buddy. Accidentally, what we think is kill Boba Fett. So, I mean, Boba Fett's screen time in the original trilogy is fairly low, yet he is a revered character.
It's an icon.
Yeah.
Snake Eyes level cool.
Yep.
Right? Like there's just he's as far as coolness factor goes, I think he's probably the coolest character in Star Wars.
Well, he's the masked ninja character, right?
Yeah.
Which is always a popular character in any IP that you have. He's like this shrouded in mystery. You can't see his face. You don't really know the angle that
and he's a badass.
And he's a badass. Yeah, and he can hold up against Jedis. So Some of it being the armor that he wears, because it's been retconned that the steel. Why can't I remember the name of the steel? Beskar steel can deflect lightsabers. So
the whole the Mandalorian really fleshing out the Mandalorian culture. And I know there was some in that in Clone Wars and Rebels as well, but just the really fleshing out of what this means. Like they strung some cool words together to get through the story, and then they had to go back and fix it, right? So we almost lose Lando, which Billy D. Williams playing absolutely terrified was awesome, and they did a really good job of mixing comedy in to the fight scene.
Yes,
I thought, and I think that's always welcome as long as you don't go too hard into the comedy. With Lando going, "I thought you couldn't see," as Han's pointing the blaster, trying to hit the one.
Well, they sprinkle that the entire battle. Han Solo and Lando are trying to connect arms basically to save him, but the entire battle that's all they're doing, right? So that's they keep going back to that comedic little moment where he just can't reach Lando. It's like, Chewie, lower me down, hold me, Chewie. Whereas Luke Skywalker is jumping around from ship to ship, basically destroying everybody.
Everything,
he's just out there doing his best Tasmanian devil impression,
basically, absolutely.
And he's got to go and he's got to grab Leia, get pressed up on Carrie there in that gold bikini. Because let's talk icons, shall we?
I paused it.
Seb's never actually seen the end of the movie.
No,
I just keep rewatching that desert scene there.
Space. It just stays on
right?
top.
And that costuming, the gold bikini is iconic. I mean, you talk, what's the best costume in Star Wars? It's gold bikini, Vader, Boba Fett, and then everybody else wore clothes. That's cool, but
most currently it's Rey. A lot of people are dressing up as Rey, or they did. I guess it's kind of fallen off because that trilogy's ended, right? So but Rey was a very popular costume for a while.
Yeah, no, Rey's awesome. Rey's awesome.
Yep, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it is one of the only times that one of the female actresses in this entire franchise was heavily sexualized. Right? Like, we don't often see that. When you talk about Rey's costuming, she's still wearing loose clothing. It absolutely makes sense.
It makes sense in the story and the concept of it, because it vilifies Jabba, right? It vilifies Jabba as a sexual predator, so to speak, right? Yeah. And he just sacrificed his last arm candy person by throwing her in the Rancor pit, right?
Rancor.
Yeah. So, and then he's like, I need a new chained hot girl, so to speak. So let's make it Leia.
Absolutely.
So no, and it absolutely makes perfect sense.
It justifies her strangling him.
Oh, absolutely.
Now you're like, yes, go for it. Right? So
I think it added a layer to it. I think she was always justified in taking him clean out of the game.
But you knew that she was never going to survive that in the end. Like, at some point, Jabba would get bored and assassinate her or eat her,
100%.
or so it had to be done at some point if she ever wanted to escape that fate. So like there's no doubt that he had to go because he's a mobster. So it's just going to turn into a vendetta, right? So Jabba and everybody there's got to go. We would find out. Can we talk about
last year?
Can we talk about Jabba's creative mole? You ever notice that he's got a mole?
Yeah.
Did he? Oh.
What? You've never seen it? Every time I looked at him, I'm like, why do they decide to put a mole on him?
He didn't wear no sunscreen when he was outside.
It's a giant mole.
Is it a wart? He's got something there. You're absolutely right. With Jabba as well.
Just so funny.
When you first saw it, so we were all been about the 5'6" range.
Yeah.
Right. Just doing basic math. Did Jabba scare you at first? Do you remember that?
No.
Did
I was more scared of the Rancor and the Sarlacc pit than Jabba.
I was scared of what's his name? The snake thing wrapped around. Oh, I can't remember.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know who you mean.
That guy.
Oh, his assistant?
Yes, yeah. He freaked me out, man.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, it's his teeth.
It's his teeth.
And his teeth are like.
Is he a Twi'lek? He's a Twi'lek, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
He's a Twi'lek.
And he just got his stuff wrapped around, and I always thought.
Jabba no bother.
Yeah, right.
Again, great dialogue for different alien languages.
Absolutely, you can still understand it, and it's a different language. It's perfect. But yeah, he scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, and I was like, I can't wait for this part to be over and get me back to being in space and lightsabers and all that, right?
Yeah, so we get through Han. We get back to the Rebel Alliance. It's happy everywhere. Han's sort of catching up. Lando, who made you a general? I was like, which is a good question, but again, they are filling in the blanks on that. Okay. They're very much filling in the blanks on that in the ongoing comic series, which is, I think, getting close to wrapping up this volume and moving into post Jedi.
Ooh, cool.
Highly recommend. Again, can't say it enough. The Star Wars and Darth Vader series from Marvel lately. If you want to fill in the blanks and see what's going on, there's a little catch up there.
Would you guys like to see a fill in the blank kind of movie, like sort of a dark side centric? You know, like how like the Vader comics. Like, okay, what was to see it on the screen? I think would be absolutely amazing.
I know. I'd take my money.
Yeah. Yep. Right.
Have they ever done young Emperor Palpatine story?
Just in the Plagueis book. And that's it.
Because that's something that should be tapped into. I think.
Man, absolutely. That's an absolute gold mine.
He's a ruthless man. And he was fucking awesome.
Was that a big gut punch for you guys when Snoke turned out not to be Darth Plagueis?
Yes.
Because a lot of people were like,
I thought it was
so convinced that it was Darth Plagueis.
I was convinced. I'm like, oh my god, they're bringing in Plagueis. This is the most amazing thing ever. And then it's like,
they really dropped the ball on that. I think.
I didn't know much about it, and I still haven't read the book.
The only reason they probably didn't use that is if they had a better or bigger picture in mind for eventually doing a Darth Plagueis storyline.
Entirely possible.
Yeah. So,
I wasn't as invested, but when they did kill him, I knew where they were going. The clones of the Emperor is something that they touched on in Dark Horse in a series called Dark Empire. It's a 6-part series from way back in the day where they explain Luke actually goes full dark side.
Sweet.
And is the Emperor's hand because he discovers that the Emperor does have all these clones. And
is that like an alternate reality version, or is that
No, it was canon that they created,
and where then Luke goes fully dark side.
Yeah, Luke went full dark side
after Return of the Jedi.
Yes, he went full dark side. He was the Emperor's hand. He was the new Darth Vader, because he discovered that in the end that big rush. As the Emperor is thrown into the core of the Death Star, was his soul, more or less, his Force ghost or whatever you want to call it, leaving to go put itself in a clone, which is what they ended up doing for the Rey trilogy.
It would have been nice if they would have mentioned that in Episode 8.
Yeah, it would have been nice if they
had give you something subtle, something insanely subtle, as opposed to going, oh, all of a sudden Palpatine's back, yay, look at us.
They needed a deep dive Easter egg that most people wouldn't be able to figure out, that could have been like, what did they say this, right? Or what does this mean, right? And then it pays off in the 9th episode.
Yeah, so, I think they could have done something with Luke saying, I suspected this might be the way, and then he just sort of leaves some unanswered questions. Like, I always suspected. I tried for years, and then I did the school thing, or when I left the school thing, I sort of got onto this trail of he might not be gone.
They could have even said something along the lines of like, Snoke is a puppet, and just left it at that, and then everyone would be like, what?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but it was surprising I thought they had him set up as a big bad. Then I realized that they were going to pull some Dark Empire stuff. I would have loved a couple of hints before Luke Force ghosted himself to sort of lean into that, because that was one of the big flaws with the ninth movie is you don't really get a whole lot of other than he's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how? A couple of lines from Luke as a throwaway, at some point in the eighth movie would have been nice to lean into that.
Well, I think too is all the backlash of 8 being so different. They
liked 8.
I love 8. I watched it.
I
watched it the
really
other week.
Good. Yeah,
I was really enthralled with it, especially all the Luke stuff at the end when he goes to Crate.
Yep.
Is that the planet? Yeah,
that was so freaking good, man.
Oh my god, it was just that made me feel like
she brings the lightsaber to him.
Yeah,
it's
so good. All that stuff's so good. And then with 9, I think they needed to, because obviously Luke was gone, everybody's gone. They needed to bring someone back from the original trilogy to
tie it all together.
Keep not even. It's just to keep the nostalgia train running.
Mm-hmm.
And so, who have we got left? Let's resurrect Palpatine. It's like, fuck, come on. As happy as I was to see him, I was like, fuck off.
Could have made Rey a Skywalker.
Yeah, they could have done. They could have done a lot of little tweaks there to make it. I think,
and it was bad that they made her a Palpatine. It's like, come on. Like, it's better when she was nothing. Like, she was a lot like Anakin, right? Just Anakin. Oh, yeah. I'm pregnant, and I'm just, I don't know. I had this kid, and blah blah blah. It was her story like that resonated more. Oh yeah, she's Palpatine's granddaughter. It's like, talk about the lazy way out.
It still doesn't make sense to me that she's his granddaughter. Like, it doesn't really make sense to me.
No.
So
absolutely not. And
there's a few things, and most of it could have been fixed with quick little dialogue, not like an exposition dump, but just like a quick little line of, as I said earlier, I suspected that, Palpatine was still out there, right? We already know about Force ghosts. We know that
they're everywhere.
That if you are a certain way or a certain strength with the Force,
you're kind of immortal.
You're kind of immortal.
Yeah.
Right?
And Palpatine had the power too, obviously.
And so Palpatine just
cheating death.
And Palpatine figured out how to, take that Force ghost and run a meat suit with it.
Yeah.
Right? So there's just some little dialogue bits. I loved the second trilogy, the sequel trilogy. I did. I didn't, it hit the nostalgia button for me really well, really hard, and especially since they sort of wrap things up. There's a lot of talk about episode 8, doing Carrie Fisher dirty. I'm like, no,
I don't think so.
I don't think it did. And how the way they wrapped her up for 9 was.
Well, they had no choice because they just had to use.
Well, yeah, she passed away.
8, right? Yeah, she passed away, so they had to use.
That's so tragic.
But
yeah.
The way
I would have liked to have rather seen them memorialize her and not use leftover footage, but memorialize her with a long thing at the beginning and have like a Game of Thrones style send off where you got the going down the river kind of thing and just have the body going. Well, something like that.
So something had happened in between movies, and then we don't see it.
Well, hold on. She gets thrown into space in 8, right?
Yes, she does.
So you could have retconned that her time in space was too long for her to heal properly.
Absolutely.
And then that's an easy,
because it would have been interesting to see the original script for 9 because they fired Colin Trevorrow and the whole what's his name?
Yeah, I think they were aiming for that. They needed to get something between her and Rey across in order to get Kylo Ren to a certain position as well, which they did fairly well. I didn't mind how they played out with Leia.
So
I still don't get why people were pissed about them not killing her off in 8. It's like, well, everything was in fucking post, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought that they were going to start 9 with just go right into a funeral or celebration or something like that.
Absolutely.
So
I just wanted to. So Benioff and Weiss never actually did anything Star Wars related.
Thank God for that.
Right? Like, did they get kicked off?
I think their trilogy they're like, you know what? I think you guys are better off staying over there. So just because they're given who I can't remember who made 8 again. Rian Johnson. He's getting his own trilogy still.
Yeah,
that's a correct move, I think.
Yeah,
he's a great writer. He's a great writer.
I think that they submitted a script and then the folks at Disney went, that doesn't work for me, brother. And
the door's over there, and take your script with you.
Yeah,
they probably couldn't deal with another toxic fan base. So they probably left just to be like, you know what,
weren't they hired before the final season of Game of Thrones?
That's why it was so quick. That's why they rushed it. Yeah. They just wanted to end it so they can start working on Star Wars.
And, man, talk about.
Here's my take on this. It's like you did when you sign on and you decide to take on such a massive IP as Game of Thrones or Star Wars or whatever, and you decide to make that commitment to do it, you have to see that through fully. You cannot take shortcuts near the end. You just cannot. The fan base is too, like, you owe it to the globe, to the universe to fully realize
the original source material too. You owe it to those 5 books to do it right. Right? Yeah. Whether their story is going to be different than George's if it ever comes out.
Nah, it's not. It's
we'll be lucky to get the Winds of Winter, but whatever.
We're not ever getting that anyways.
No. Well, there's
anyways, let's circle back to the let's wormhole back into Return of the Jedi.
Okay, so back in the day, Harrison Ford said he wanted Han Solo to be sacrificed for the story.
Yes, he didn't want Han to get out of this movie.
Yes. Seb? Because
I think they did it correctly. I think having him die to his son was way more powerful in the end.
Yes.
I think they did a great job.
Yeah.
And just the way the story worked out, you needed all 3 events to win in order for them to win the thing.
Yeah.
So I guess it is kind of a Hollywood ending because Han ends with Leia and then finds out that Luke is Leia's brother and everything's hunky-dory. Yeah. But I think the sacrifice is Darth Vader, right? That's the sacrificial lamb. That's the person that sacrifices their life for the betterment of the world, right? So
he gets redeemed, but he doesn't make it.
He finally brings balance to the Force.
I think it would have been stupid if Darth Vader survived, and turned back into Anakin. Yeah. I think that would have been the worst decision.
Yeah, because they would have done some cheese dick 80s thing where
cheese dick.
He's all healed up and he looks like David Prowse that was just headed for the gym.
Well, right? They just sort of put Hayden's head on him in the re-released ones and just have him.
Yes, they did.
His Force Ghost at the end.
Force Ghost, yeah.
Or if they had Vader survive and they re-release it, 30 years later, they would have had Hayden walk around. It would have been so dumb.
Or in a freaking white armor.
Imagine the guilt that must just overcome you when he turned back to the light side. Don't you think, as he's dying, that he just thought about all the kids and everyone that he killed in his lifetime? He's I was a really bad douchebag.
Atrocities and war crimes he's committed? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yet he's a fucking horrible monster, and we all love him as a character.
Yeah.
He's one of the best villains ever created, right?
He slaughtered a whole room of kids and fucking countless thousands of people.
Yeah, and that's
galaxy. It's like, hey, Darth
Master Skywalker.
That is one of the few things that the prequel trilogies did right. Is Anakin did some filthy, nasty stuff.
Yeah. Do you know that child's reaction was pure and honest? When they were filming that, there was no dialogue, right?
Nope.
So they just had it on because Anakin was here and then the child was in the frame. Yeah. And then Anakin apparently, when they were filming it, looks at the kid and just goes boo like that. And so the kid's reaction is literally like this.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
fantastic. That's up there with my other favorite one. Is they actually dropped Alan Rickman in Die Hard before he was ready, which is why you get that.
Yes, that's why you got
that. Oh, so good! That's so good.
Anyways, let's touch on it. Let's talk about the 3-front battle. So we see Han and Leia and Luke, and they get tossed in there with a bunch of red shirts and Chewie and the droids, and head down to Endor. They get owned by walking teddy bears. Now, granted, like Seb said earlier, they are absolutely walking teddy bears. However,
it's guerrilla warfare, and you're in their jungle
because they are going to turn around and eat your face.
Yeah.
And then
they literally wanted to eat them when they first captured them.
Yes.
Yeah. This is dinner.
Yeah.
We got absolutely did. So let's not think too much about what happened to everybody that was wearing all of those helmets that they were beating on like drums at the end of the movie, shall we?
Right.
Let's just move forward past that. And then you have...
that's an interesting thought. I never even thought about that.
Then you have Akbar and Lando and the rest of the crew getting ready to assault the Death Star.
One of the most famous lines ever.
It's a trap.
Oh, yeah. That's probably...
It's
the most correctly quoted line in Star Wars.
Yeah.
The most quoted line is never quoted correctly.
Luke, I am your father.
That's right. He doesn't say Luke. He says, no, I am your father.
Yeah.
And that's you don't want people. Oh, that's just the Mandela effect. That's not what it. No, that's the original.
The Mandela effect is Luke. I am your father.
Yeah. Anywho, and then it's right in the middle of it. Luke realizes like, oh, shit. And not even in the middle of it. Before they even get to the planet, Luke realizes, oh shit. This ain't gonna work because I'm here and he's right over there in that Star Destroyer. But it is the reason they get through because Vader's like, no, let him down.
I'll deal with him myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
but it's inevitably the entire downfall of the Sith way is overconfidence and arrogance.
Yeah, we're just going to leave that fleet of Star Destroyers over there, and they're fine. Don't worry about that.
Well, they didn't factor in the inhabitants of the planet, right? They didn't expect them to win over the Ewoks with kindness and goodness, right? No. They just assumed that they weren't even going to be a part of this whole thing.
Yeah, they assumed it's like, good luck. Go ahead, assault from the ground. The cannibalistic teddy bears,
So really, the Ewoks are the heroes of the story. If you really want to get down to it,
Teddy Ruxpin will take care of that.
Yeah.
Matt's really going to drive this Hannibal Lecter cannibal teddy bear thing home, isn't he?
But it's kind of true. Like, the more he says it, it's
it's not even cannibalism, though. It's just...
They were literally going to eat Luke and Han.
It's just food chain, and they're at the top of it.
Yeah. And stormtroopers
unfortunately are down pretty low.
So, C-3PO gets his hero moment.
Mm-hmm.
With a little help from Luke, he becomes their golden god.
Yeah.
And he's very confused as to how it's happening, and I just thought that was a very amusing scene for me.
Yes, that was awesome.
Just the way he's like, just tell him, and it's like, oh shit, what's happening? The chair's going up. He's freaking out. The Ewoks are stunned. Luke is just doing his thing.
Yeah.
I only imagine that like Han is like chuckling to himself somewhere, tied to his stake, and then of course we get Leia coming out. So she saves the day there, and then Luke's like, "Yeah, I gotta go," and so he becomes
endangering the mission,
the third prong in the attack. Which honestly didn't really make that much of a difference to the entirety of it. It was a personal battle being fought separately because the shield generator comes down.
It does though, because he's responsible for the ultimate defeat of the Emperor, right?
Yeah,
so without him being there, they would have never...
Emperor is going to die regardless because the Death Star was going to blow up.
They wouldn't have been on there if Luke didn't... They wouldn't have been... Darth Vader wouldn't have been on the Death Star if Luke didn't come. He would have been in his fighter flying around doing his fighter pilot
the
shit,
Emperor
right?
would have.
The Emperor was already on the Death Star.
Possibly, right?
Emperor was already on
the Death Star.
He was there. It was it. It was Lando and the fighters getting through because they got the shield generator down.
Yeah.
The lightsaber battle, the Emperor thing was gravy. It was delicious. It was wonderful. We needed to have it. We wanted to have it.
And you needed more too. I needed more.
It wasn't key to the victory. The Emperor still would have blown up. He still would have, his soul still would have escaped his body and done whatever. But that lightsaber battle was just for Anakin. That was family problems being worked out.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with that. I like a good B story. And that was one of the better B stories.
That sort of made
especially in the climax of the movie.
Yeah.
Right? Let's talk about that lightsaber battle for a minute.
It's a good battle.
How do you like the way it's shot?
Amazing.
Well, before we get
mostly dark.
Before we get to the lightsaber battle, it's an interesting choice to have Luke wear all black.
Right?
Like,
Well, again,
they decided the costume of it was all black, so it was, already there's, I guess maybe from a creative standpoint, you're trying to hint to the audience that maybe he is going to turn to the dark side.
Yeah, you're keeping us guessing, right?
So because he's never worn all black until until the beginning of Return of the Jedi. Like I think this is the only movie that he wears black.
Because he was wearing white robes at the end of Empire, right? At the very end, when
he's got his arm around Leia. Yeah, he's wearing all white. And so then you have that juxtaposition of, okay, now he's had the year to...
Yeah. And he's wearing black.
To train.
Now he's wearing all black. He's choking people. You're like, all right.
We didn't know what a Jedi looked like back then.
No.
What it turned out to be, what they eventually turned around and did is what Obi-Wan is wearing in the first movie. They decided that was the Jedi style.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know back then what a Jedi looked like.
No.
As far as we know, that was Obi-Wan out there in his house coat and PJs in the first movie.
Probably was.
Shit's probably comfortable, man.
Getting back to it, Alec Guinness is 100% responsible for basically giving birth to what a Jedi should look like. Because it was all him and the costume department, I guess, in the story. But like ultimately, it's like, let's costume you up to make you look like a hermit, but like what a Jedi should actually look like. Yeah. So,
well, I mean, what would be comfortable? What I don't even think they thought about Jedi. I think they were like, what would work for a desert?
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's all desert camouflage style, loose
got the hood
clothing,
up, all protection from the sun, and blah blah blah. Right? Yeah.
Shades of brown, shades sand sort of stuff, and that is what became the Jedi sort of go-to, right? Like we saw in Episode 1, he's wearing basically the same thing, or Ewan McGregor's wearing basically the same thing, and so is Qui-Gon.
Sam Jackson, same thing.
That because that's sort of how it played out. But back here in 1983, a Jedi could be the man in black, right?
Yeah.
When the man comes around, as Johnny used to say, it's just, I am become death. I'm a Jedi. I'm here to fix this problem, right? And I loved the all black. Luke's in all black, Vader's in all black, the Emperor's sitting in his chair, and that's in all black. They got the lights off in this throne room. They got the big bay window looking out at the battle. They have just the orange highlights of the stairs and everything, and then it's just the lightsabers, and that was fantastic. Also did a really good job of hiding the stuntman.
Absolutely.
Right? Highlighting what we want to see, hiding the stuntman. Sorry, I cut you off there, Mike.
No, it's fine. It's just I was just gonna go to the scene where like Vader is goading Luke to come out and fight him, and Luke's like, "I will not fight you," and blah blah blah. And he starts talking about his sister, and if
then
you won't turn, perhaps maybe she will. And he like chucks a lightsaber. Yeah. Music's all crashing, shit's blowing up, and it's like, oh my god, that's just the intensity was just like a 20.
There's a twofold battle going on too, right? There's a duel, literally with swords, and then there's the mind battle. Like it's happening at the same time, and like the way it flows between both of the, I feel good in you. You can turn, give into your dark side, and Luke more so, you see how he switches to anger and then back to like remorse, but you can also see it in Darth Vader too, like in the battle before he decides ultimately to throw the Emperor and complete the turn back to the light side. He is struggling. You can just tell with like his subtle pauses, I guess, in the duel where he doesn't go full force because he's holding back a little bit. He's still battling, so it's just really interesting the way those nuances of the
only way Luke can defeat Vader is by using all of his anger and hate, because he is like something pissed off when he comes out of from when the final part where he chops off Vader's hand. It's just awesome.
And that's using that is the trap, right? Like that's how they get you. That
it's
line
a trap.
That when
we need that car in the corner yelling it's a trap, but
Luke, it's a trap.
Don't do it.
That line Mike's talking about where they're apart, they're trying to find each other in this dark room, the lightsabers are off, and there's that shot of Vader's head turning and goes, sister.
You have a twin.
Obi-Wan was wise to hide her from me. It's like, oh
shit, he knows.
Like just the way they caught that, like, and it's an ADR line clearly because everything Vader says is, but the way they blended that with the head turn, and that's when Luke turns the lightsaber on. It's like, oh, here we go, round 2, ring the bell, let's do this.
Absolutely,
right? And then it's a Fast and the Furious, not the car movie, an absolute onslaught of just Luke wailing on him.
Yep.
Getting real close to that line. The Emperor.
Yeah, he's not pulling any punches.
No,
Luke. He's really going hard.
He took the bait 100%.
Yeah.
And then he looked at his own hands at that moment.
Yeah. Some of those overhand swings are pretty hefty there. So
yeah,
and the balls
that's a lot of pent up anger there.
Yeah, and after he defeats Vader, and the balls it takes for him just to throw his lightsaber away, he's like, "Fuck you, Emperor."
He would have lost if he killed Vader, though. Like, because ultimately that's what the Emperor wanted to complete the turn. He would have slayed Vader right there in front of the Emperor, and then he would have been dark.
And that is sort of the premise of Dark Empire.
What's Luke's Darth's name if he did indeed turn?
Darth Whiner Pants.
Of course, you're gonna bring it to Whiner Pants.
Darth Bitchy. That's a good question.
What do you think it would be?
Well, I mean, it's tough because they just sort of pull things from here and there.
It's like when the Emperor named Vader, it was like Darth. Let me think. Vader. Yeah. Darth Vader. It's just like he just made it up. It's like, all right.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
I'm gonna just find something.
And now here's another thing: would the next logical step had Luke turned? Would the next logical step would be Luke turn Leia?
So I went to Reddit, which is probably the wrong place to go, because there was Dirk Lasermaster is one, Darth Vader Part 2, Darth Incestuous.
I like that.
That's amazing.
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's the best one.
What are you stuck there, twin sister?
Darth not burnt Skywalker.
Right.
Oh my god, Reddit is amazing sometimes. Oh my god. Anyways,
yeah. Reddit's
the wrong place to go if you want a serious answer.
Absolutely.
Reddit is not the place to go.
No.
Sorry, I just got distracted there. I realized they're bringing the ugly belt out on the show first. Anyways, that's for later. That's what the PBR is for. Yeah, so that's an interesting question. And then followed, would Luke turn around and go turn Leia? Twin
yeah, that's a great question.
I mean, there is some lore on that.
Well, I don't know if he would, because there's always two Siths, right? There's the Master and Apprentice, so
that's because they tend to end up killing each other, and that's
the credo of the Sith. There's always two, no more, no less.
The rule.
Yeah, there is lore that is different. I'm sure they'll be sticking closer to that, but it is because they don't work well together when it's top dog next in command.
Yeah.
Because everybody else, it's like a warring mob family. All the capos want to be the top dog, right?
Yeah.
But then you have the twin children of Anakin Skywalker, now both very powerful Sith lords.
Could you imagine the right and left hand of the Emperor?
Not even.
And Palpatine's
now the Emperor's got to deal with these two.
Essence floating out there too. Come on, man.
Yeah. So it's
an
Luke and Leia at the
concept.
top of the food chain, and the Emperor gets dealt with, right?
Yeah,
so there's a thought for you.
I think it ended exactly the way it needed to end. Honestly,
I agree.
The redemption arc, the full redemption arc, Luke wins in the end. All the pieces are set there, so it's good. It is. I know that his Emperor's soul transports into a clone body or whatever, but Man, it's like when you see him fall down, you're like, "There's no way he's surviving that." Like he gets incinerated.
Well, first, first he turns into the purple smoke, and then he gets incinerated. It's like, okay, where?
Yeah. I mean, it's that Force Ghost thing, and if they had not put that effect of the
was that in the original though, or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If they hadn't put that in there, they would have had nowhere to go. It would have been a much worse explanation. And don't get me wrong, my Force Ghost learned how to run my clone. That's right. There's a saying we have when you have these boxes behind me, because comics.
Yeah. And there was time for that essence to leave before the dust. Let's be real here. It wasn't just like, oh my God, Emperor's down, and then it blows up 5 seconds later. There was a good stretch of time for Luke to get Vader to the ship, to get off the ship.
Yes, I got it.
Right? Timing. Okay, let's hear it.
I got it, and hear me out.
Uh-oh.
The Emperor...
Are you on Reddit again?
No.
Okay.
This is right out of my head.
Okay.
He had 7 Horcruxes.
You blasphemous piece of crap. How dare you bring in the lesser franchise? How dare you speak of that franchise in this show?
I mean, it kind of echoes
them.
What's
wrong with you? Oh my God.
All right, Matt is going to disconnect me from the podcast, and see you next week, guys.
Maybe, if you're lucky.
Because it only works if you're watching us live, and I don't think anybody, I don't think a majority of our viewers will get it on the on the Apples and the Spotify's. So I thought about it for a split second. But, please don't intermix the.
No, but it's the classic Dungeons and Dragons lich, phylactery, soul jar, vessel, like soul vessel, escape mechanism.
Yeah,
they did it in Star Wars, they did it in the Harry Potter, they do it in D&D all the time with like wizards that have a soul attached to something else. So if their body perishes, it gets sucked into the soul jar for reharvesting into a new body, so to speak. So
almost,
I mean, it's been done before.
I mean,
Lord of the Rings too, right?
Like Lord of the Rings, yeah. So
Game of Thrones.
They
bring Jon back. Spoilers.
Oh my God!
What? No way.
But no, it's Star Wars is not. Star Wars is not an original story.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's the hero's journey. It's the classic story.
It's the hero's journey. It's the evil, the good wizard, the rogue, the young up and comer, the princess in distress. It's the dragon, the dark knight, the whole thing. It is a timeless tale. It is just told in space. It has been fleshed out. It has hit pop culture. It hit our sensibilities correctly. It was done well enough.
It's one of the best hero's stories told, though.
Yes. So, it absolutely is. It's a classic story arc with slightly different details, and it hit right where it needed to. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's lots of classic lines, but for every classic line there are some garbage throwaway things in there. You're just like, why? Why would you write this and go, this is the best version we can come up with? No, you could have redone that.
Yeah, you know what though? Like all of the dialogue between Vader, Luke, and Emperor hit home though. Like it's so good and so connected, and you're like into it. But like some of the other dialogue, some of it between like Han and Leia are a bit like
most of the first movie, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Most of the first movie, the dialogue is just like holy pets. This is the best you can come up with. Grant, they got better, right? Like different writers came in.
George stopped writing the dialogue in the next video, right? He just did the dialogue in the first one.
And it's
different writers came in. Yep. The actors themselves had a sensibility for the character and where they were going, so it worked out better as it went along.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where does this one rank for you guys out of? Let's say the 11 movies. Where does this one rank?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, it's either 1 or 2.
Okay.
Like, it has to be Return Empire or Empire Return. It depends on my mood. I switch those all the time. I think it's great because there's there's a synergy between the storylines that all kind of correlate into a good ending. It kind of ties the bow on a lot of strings, so to speak. Whereas the second one is a lot darker and probably a better story. I don't know. I'm still gonna go Return number 1.
Are we talking all the Star Wars movies?
I'm talking all 11 movies.
Well, yeah, Empire and Return are gonna be 1 and 2 for sure. You can't tell me that otherwise.
Mike's about to.
I think I'm.
Well, I. Okay, so what I was. Okay, well he's out. Like what I was saying before about like when I was a kid, Jedi was my favorite movie
of all time. It's like the Goonies and Jedi were like those are like the two. But as I've gotten older, I like Jedi less and less just because of like I like the Luke and Vader Empire part of it, but the rest of it for me now as an older person, I could throw the rest away. I don't care. Maybe because I've seen it 10,000 times and I just it's a little too like it remind. Okay, Seb's gonna shoot me now. It remind. Like they're aside from okay, I gotta word this right. You're gonna shit on me anyway. It reminds me of the prequels. In terms of like the rest, in terms of the rest of the story, like aside from the Skywalker crap, the rest of it is just throwaway. It's just it's a means to an end to get us to where we need Luke, Vader, and the Emperor in the same room. And like the prequels were like, the first two were throwaways just to get Anakin to turn, right? It was just kind of that. I don't know. It just. So Jet. Okay, if I'm going ranking.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel forced though. Like in the prequels, everything seems to be forced into. Like you don't buy it in the prequels because it's just so outrageously poorly worded in terms of dialogue and.
Well, we were just talking about all the throwaway shit in Jedi too, right? It was.
But in Star Wars as well, and Empire.
No, it's not poor like the prequels. No, but I'm sort of just. I'm not lumping it in with the prequels, but there is elements of where George was going. Like if he was going to make more Star Wars movie, he wanted to make them more kid friendly, make them more sort of cartoony in a way. And that's the prequels are very cartoony. Like they're just like bad cartoony.
Yeah,
but you also had a bunch of cartoons that came out in between there. You had droids. Yeah, he was making money hand over fist by reaching into the parents' wallets, which is great. Yeah.
And Jedi was basically a big advertisement for toys. Like they all were, but I think Jedi took it to the next level with the Ewoks and all that.
Empire on the first one was not. The first one, the toys was a bonus.
Yes.
Empire
they were not thinking about merchandising when they did the first movie.
No.
George Lucas was just thinking about let's just make a space opera and hopefully it works out.
Yeah, and he
had
around,
no concept of merchandising when he was doing Star Wars.
Because he included merchandising in his payment because they were over budget or there's some story to it. He got the merch rights because he took a hit on his own fee. Absolutely. And so he turned around and was like, I need to eat, so let's see what we can do here. And that blew up. And then, at that time also G.I. Joe and Transformers were going, and those were toy commercials.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the producers of these shows had no qualms in saying, oh, absolutely not. Like, no, Hasbro was paying for this so we could make toy commercials. And that's why there's a lot more diversity. You start seeing that with the snow speeders in Empire, with the twin orangey red things in Cloud City.
Oh, that's the
Tauntauns. Yeah. The different outfits they're all wearing in the movies.
Yep.
I will say this though. I just thought of it. Somebody in the war engineering department of the Galactic Empire needs to get fired. Like, do you think your best choice for a war vehicle in a jungle is a walker? Like, look at all the logs it's got to step on with those two dainty legs. Like, that's the best you could come up with. Like, come on.
You know what? While you're mentioning that, let's give credit to the Ewoks for coming up with some really cool ass traps.
Yeah,
we saw it earlier in the in the trailer I played, but those two logs that smashed the AT-ST, the hang gliders, the dropping of the rocks, and the funniest thing in all three of these movies, Wicket on the speeder bike.
Hell yeah,
the speeder bike's cool. Speeder bike is really. Yeah, all aboard of those.
But if we're gonna get back to my ranking, I'll put it fourth.
Fourth?
Oh my god!
This might be it's gonna be a little trolly, but whatever. I'm in the mood.
No,
So I got.
Yeah,
So I think Seb's having a heart attack
Okay,
or
sorry.
or something.
Fourth?
Yeah, so I'll put Empire. I'll put Empire 1.
How is it fourth?
He's
Because-
explaining that to you. Give him a minute.
Can I fucking explain it? So I'll put Empire 1. And I'm gonna obviously put episode 3 2.
Oh,
And I'm gonna put episode 8 3. And then Jedi can be 4. And then I'm not gonna rank all of them because
No,
See,
no,
I
we
would
don't
I
need
would
to do
put
that.
episode 7 above episode 9.
I put it. Episode
well,
9
you know
is
what?
the last one. Episode 9 sucks.
There's
It gets
another
horrible.
whole month of shows in
Right?
getting into
Fuck
that.
episode 9. It's the worst one. Solo's better than episode 9.
No, Phantom Menace is the worst one. There's no reason for that.
Are
movie.
you an angel?
Okay. Oh fuck! You know what? This is a live show. We will be bringing referees' shirts and gloves.
But yes, so Matt, where does Jedi sit for you? Because I'm going to shut up because Seb's going to die of a
3.
3. Okay.
It's 3. It's got heavy nostalgia for me because it was something my dad and I did
Yes.
when early in my younger days. My dad
That's
never
important too, right?
never
Those
got
memories.
never got into this. He's a sports guy, but taking me to see this, and he probably wanted to see it too. Like it was a
Absolutely.
huge movie,
And he
right?
probably liked the fact that you liked it so much. It probably brought him joy to take you and share
Absolutely.
that experience.
And you did that with the Metallica and your kid, and you took your kids to see
Just going to say that, yeah.
the sequels.
Yeah.
I took my stepson to see the 3 sequels.
Mhm.
They're
It's powerful stuff. Like, but
It is.
Tying these things to that kind of memory and that feeling
Yeah.
it makes these things,
It is,
way
and
more
I'm giving
special
it-
than what they are, right?
It's a heavy nostalgia thing that makes me want to go higher. But honestly, if I'm going to sit down and watch one Star Wars movie, I'm going to pick Empire first.
Mhm.
And after that's going to be Rogue One, and then Jedi. Oh, and Seb's going to quit. I'm sorry, Rogue One was a lot of plot hole filler. But
The only
it
good
was-
part of Rogue
it was
One is like
very
the
well
last
done.
20 seconds.
Very well
or
done.
last couple minutes, I should say. Yeah, it is. But you
it-
already
it-
know the story, right? It's like you're watching a retcon. You're watching a movie about
we don't
100%
know.
about
we,
retcon.
We don't know the story. All we know is somebody got this data to Leia somehow, and that's the story of
Yeah.
it. And it also, and Rogue One, let's be honest, it also spawned one of the better Disney series.
Yeah, Andor's good.
Andor's
Okay.
really good.
Yeah.
It's like I would put Andor in there against season 1 of The Mandalorian as top of what they've done so far.
Okay, fair.
And Seb, I'll even put The Force Awakens in my top 5. You happy? There, I got 2 of the new trilogy in my top 5.
Watch them again and again and again, and then you'll
You know
probably
what?
shift.
That's fair because we have seen Jedi
A bazillion times.
A bazillion. Like I can
bazillion times
recite
for
the whole
4
movie as
years.
it goes on. I don't.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it any less of a movie. That just makes it less appealing for you to watch it because you've seen it so many times, right? It's like watching.
No, because I
Shawshank?
can watch The Goonies every day and I still I giggle like I'm 10.
That's an outlier, though. That's a personal thing, but it's like
I
don't
disagree.
know. It's,
Fuck you.
But no, Seb's right. There is a rewatchability factor that for some people
of course.
does. It means I can't sit and watch the entirety of Shawshank anymore because it's on TV every day.
Every day, right?
Right?
yeah, it's
I can
such
watch
a-
Die Hard one day a year, and that's Christmas Eve, and that's it. It doesn't work any other day.
Okay, Christmas Vacation, arguably one of the greatest Christmas movies of all time. I've seen it so many bloody times that I just like stop paying attention to it. Like, I mean, it's phenomenal, but I don't watch the whole thing anymore. I'll just put
That's-
it on during Christmas and phase into certain scenes because I know it so well, right? So
Well, that's what I wrap Christmas presents to.
yeah, see,
And then
we
the first Christmas movie of the year I try to squeeze in is Die Hard because it's not Christmas until Hans Gruber falls from the top of October.
So how do you feel about Bruce Willis coming out to specifically say it's not a Christmas movie?
That's his opinion.
Bruce is well known to be diagnosed with a brain function issues these days. So I think
Yeah.
that was clearly, he said that, and that's clearly where his family got worried about him, and his doctors got worried and started doing extra tests.
Hey, I'm on board with it being a
Impressive,
Christmas
Matt.
movie.
That was impressive.
Yeah, well, I knew you were going there, so
That's good. I like that.
But yeah, I mean, it's Jedi is the one that I think at the age we were at. I mean, by the time you're 4 or 5, your cognitive experiences are really starting to stick.
Like, I don't think I saw this till I was like 10. I really don't.
No,
8. No, I think I was later to the game with Star Wars. I'm trying to remember back.
It's tough.
It's pretty hazy for me, but I was older. I was older than 5. I know that when I started loving Star Wars and Indiana Jones. And really getting into it, right?
So I never watched it in theaters. Like the first time I watched Return of the Jedi was on a VHS cassette. Yeah. So it was probably 86, 87 when I watched the first.
Right. Yeah. So you'd have been just like me, like 9, 10 years old.
Yeah.
I remember very few things from before my brother was born, and Empire would have come out a couple of months later. But around 4 or 5 is where memories really sort of start to stick. Your preschool, your kindergarten, that's where it all starts sort of rolling, and that's really where Jedi fell, right? Like we would have been starting kindergarten or finishing up preschool when this happened.
Yeah,
right.
That's shit's gone. I have no memory of that time in my life.
Same.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's we're creeping on an hour and a half here.
Well, look at us.
Hey, we got into the weeds.
That's fine. This has been a really good conversation.
And you know what?
I made Seb go red in the face with anger. It's amazing.
Multiple
times today.
I gave in to the dark side.
You did. You totally did.
I got a couple of good laughs in.
Struck you down.
Thank you, boys, for that.
Through the screen there.
It's been a whole month of Star Wars. So tune in this week. We will be posting on what we're up to next weekend. I'll be honest with you, folks. We have some scheduling things because it's summertime and kids and vacations and graduations and stuff. So our schedule will get a little hinky.
A little hairy.
But we will be around. We may skip a week or two. We haven't really figured it out. We got a meeting coming to figure that out. But tune into the Facebook page. We will make an announcement on what we're doing and when we're doing it. Hopefully next Saturday, but who knows? And as we move on, maybe music. Might be TV.
Who knows? I don't even think
might be just a concept. I think toxic fan bases or something. I think we need to discuss because
that's been brought up before.
Yeah, it is brutal out there, and it doesn't matter what you're a fan of.
It's everywhere.
Yeah,
and it's not just Star Wars versus Star Trek anymore. Like it's Civil War until somebody else comes along and goes, Star Wars is stupid. Harry Potter rules, and then it's just like, who let you out of the kindergarten class?
Yeah,
like, and you know what? I shit on Harry Potter, but it is also well done. It's also a well done world built. And
there's another toxic fan base too, Harry Potter.
Yeah,
you know what? It's interesting. I don't see that as much, but we can get into that some other time. Stay tuned to the Facebook page. We will let you know what's going on when it's happening. Thank you, boys, for joining us as always. It's been a hell of a month of Star Wars.
Hell of a month.
Clearly, there's a lot more meat left on the bone, but we need to move on. We'll cleanse the palate with something. Also, stay tuned. Find out about Mandatory Music Monday when we're going to
tune in tomorrow for the wrestling pod you're doing.
Oh yes, cheap seat booking tomorrow.
Cheap seat booking, absolutely.
Be available.
Please, everybody, tune in.
Yeah, we will be discussing the new WWE Championship, the new title holder, and AEW Double or Nothing, and including the one wrestler that I keep referring to as the deadbeat dad of professional wrestling, and whether or not he will be around for AEW's big Wembley Stadium show coming up this summer.
Cool.
And, all right. Thank you, gentlemen. May the force be with you.
A good day and how do.
See ya.